This is the Marvel Masterworks vidcast, True Believers, where we cover all of the adventures in the Marvel Universe. From the wanderings of the Green Goliath, to the chaotic offices of the Daily Bugle, to the grim alleyways of Hell's Kitchen, and to the top of Avengers Tower. With your hosts, Adam and Chris.
Welcome to another episode of the Marvel Masterworks podcast and vidcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam. And with me for this episode is my co-host, Chris. Chris, how's it going?
I'm doing great, Adam. Happy to join you once again for another one of these podcasts, man. Looking forward to it. How are you doing?
I am doing well, and we are talking Daredevil, of course, The Man Without Fear. Not the book, but that's his, his code name or his alternate, one of his alternate monikers. Just like Superman has Man of Steel, Batman has The Dark Knight. Daredevil, of course, is The Man Without Fear. Now, as you saw the last time we covered Daredevil, we're covering the Netflix / now Disney Plus series that ran for 3 seasons. We're going episode by episode as we await the long-awaited return in the upcoming Daredevil Born Again series. But before that, as we always do on this show, when there's news, we talk about it. And boy, is there MCU news to talk about this week. There's only really 2 topics I want to broach, but one of them is so big that and unexpected that we have to talk about it. Now, before we get to the huge news, since this is a Daredevil-centric episode, Charlie Cox was at D23 talking a little bit about Daredevil Born Again. He was on stage with Vincent D'Onofrio, and they were having a chit-chat with Kevin Feige. Of course, nothing spoilerific was revealed. No footage was shown because they haven't started filming yet. But it was just, chat, hype it up, the usual stuff. And it's sort of like the post-scrum interviews after the panel. Charlie Cox was talking a little bit about Daredevil Born Again, and he assured fans that while he's a little bit lighter in his She-Hulk episode, when he appears in that, he's not going to be a sort of slapstick, comedic type of character once the Daredevil Born Again series kicks off. He's assuring fans, because I know some fans online, as Twitterers want to do, when they found out he was in She-Hulk and they saw the tone of She-Hulk, decided, let's have a meltdown and overreact because we're making assumptions. So Charlie Cox assuaged that. Are you surprised that he's not going to be a slapstick character, Chris?
Of course, I'm not surprised. At the time of recording, we are 7 episodes deep into She-Hulk, and he hasn't appeared yet. Right. So a lot of fans are excited about this. Of course, I am. I'm really looking forward to his appearance, and I'm sure it will be a little bit lighthearted. But his own series will have its own adult tone and theme. I feel like it might not be quite to the level of the Netflix series, which we'll talk about a little bit tonight, because he does some things in that. Yeah. But no, of course, I expect whatever property he pops up in, he is likely to, conform to the tone of that property. But I'm sure his own Born Again series is going to be a lot more like a grown-up.
Right.
Serious.
And Chris, I can confirm to you and our viewers and listeners with 100% certainty that Charlie Cox as Daredevil will appear in She-Hulk in either episodes 8 or 9. That's confirmed. So I can just put that to rest now. That's when he's showing up. Be on the lookout for him. I'm sure certain Twitter accounts and websites will cover that and put that on their front page and act like it's an actual exclusive, but it's not. I'm just playing around. Of course, he's going to appear in one of those final 2 episodes. But the other thing that Charlie Cox kind of put forth is that the reporter that was questioning him asked is this going to be basically continue right where the Netflix show left off and be a season 4? And he's like, no, this is essentially a season 1. So basically he alluded to that it's kind of a fresh start. So what I'm taking that to mean is that you're going to be seeing Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, but it's not necessarily the exact same version of the characters that we saw in the Netflix series. It is the MCU variant, basically. So, what are your thoughts on this? Essentially, kind of being a fresh start. I don't want to say reboot because I'm not 100% sure that that's what it is. But hypothetically, if it were, what would your thoughts be on that?
My first two thoughts are that I hope Eldon Henson and Deborah Ann Wall are back, because I love them as Foggy and Karen, and I really, really want to see them back in those roles. But, it's fine that it's not necessarily a continuation. That series happened several years ago, so a lot of time has passed. This doesn't necessarily need to pick up exactly where that left off. The world has moved on. Thanos' snap has happened since then. A lot of things have happened in the world, so we can jump into this series wherever it exists now. Now, even if it lived in the same universe, the same world, it doesn't have to reference anything that came before that. Or, like you said, now that we've introduced the concept of multiverse and variants and these things, there's nothing saying that these are even the exact same characters that we saw in that timeline. So, they'll find a way to make it all work out.
I agree. For the most part, look, there are Marvel movies and shows that don't always hit with me, but 9 times out of 10, Feige and his team get it mostly right. In the grand scheme of what, 20, how many movies are we in deep now? 25, 26, 27? And about, you count all the series, it's about 75 project, who knows? But anyway, their batting average is pretty damn good, I would say, to use a baseball metaphor, since you're in playoff mode there over there for your team there. So, and I guess my team, but I'm more of a hockey guy, so. Yay, Blue Jays! Hopefully you do something. Call me if you win something. Then when you're in the stretch run, then I'll if you're in deep, then I'll tune in. Otherwise, yeah. We've been burned too many times sports-wise here that unless it's borderline a sure thing, it's like, all right, yeah. Call me when it really matters. But anyway, so their batting average is fine. I'm not concerned. Again, I love the Netflix Daredevil version, but we've got 3 seasons of that.
Sure.
And I look at this like basically, I look at this show like a comic book. This is a new creative team.
Yep.
And a new run. Whether there are some continuity tie-ins, cool. If it's a fresh start, great. Let's go. I'm ready either way. So that's where I'm at. Just because all I'll say is he's my favorite Marvel superhero. I just want him to be done right. If I get that, I'll be happy. And so that's where I am at. That's all the news that Charlie Cox gave us via D23. So we will, of course, keep an eye out for more Daredevil-related news. And, of course, when filming starts in 2023, if there are any pics or images or video or anything like that that come about, we will discuss them when they arrive. But until then, stay tuned on that front. Now, it seems like big news likes to drop at random times throughout a day because if my memory serves, it was about I believe Friday it was when the news broke. At around like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, a really weird time, Eastern time, for news to break. Because usually this stuff comes out early in the morning, right? Hollywood time, around 10 a.m., 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Right? Usually big news, that's when it's released in the trades. Maximum noontime, that's when if there's going to be a big news, that's what's going to drop. Well, Ryan Reynolds says, "Screw that. We're gonna do this at about 3 or 4 o'clock," and he drops a video. And in the video, he's talking about sorry they couldn't be at D23, but he and the team are working really hard trying to put together Deadpool 3. And he starts talking about it's very dramatic music, all that jazz. He's like, I've been doing a lot of soul searching because this is Deadpool's first appearance in the MCU. It's got to be special, but we've got to do justice to the character, so it's a fine balance. So he's walking in the woods. We see him drinking his gin, his brand of gin, out of his Deadpool mug. We see him working out. We see him taking in a soccer game from the soccer team he owns. Over there in the UK, and then he's sitting on his toilet reading a comic book, and he's like, "But I couldn't come up with anything." He's like, "I'm sitting here and I got nothing." He goes, "But we did have this one idea," and then Hugh Jackman just comes casually walking through the frame and heading
in the
up
background.
In the background, heading up a staircase, and he's like, "Hey, Hugh, want to play Wolverine one more time?" And Hugh Jackman says, "Sure, Ryan, why not?" And then the video ends with the Deadpool logo and the Wolverine's claws slashing through it, with a release date that says September 6th, 2024. Now,
yes, the 3 claws slashed through for Deadpool 3 I thought was very genius marketing.
Yeah, and it said Marvel Studios. Yeah, it was Marvel Studios. And part of me, because of the way Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds banter on social media, I'm like, all right, this is a joke, right? Like this is them just playing fun, right? Well, not 5 minutes later, the Variety article comes out saying Hugh Jackman set to reprise role of Wolverine in Deadpool 3. So I'm like, oh shit, this is serious. And then I got even more excited, and I watched the video again, and I kept getting excited. I got to be honest with you, Chris. I didn't have Hugh Jackman returning to the role of Wolverine on my 2022 bingo card at all. I mean, he said he was done.
Yep.
And multiple times, and he was very matter of fact about it. And here we are, he's back. So just before we get into more particulars, what do you think about the idea of Hugh Jackman being back as Wolverine?
Well, I really enjoy Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, so I'm excited to see him again in anything, like, period. Like, I'm just excited for him to be back. But specifically to see him in a Deadpool movie with Ryan Reynolds, I am overjoyed. I'm ecstatic. I cannot wait for this. And the only thing that sucks is that we have to wait 2 whole years for it because it's not coming out until 2024. But yeah, I mean it's big news. It's a return to the character that made him a star, that allowed him to go out and make these other projects that he wanted to make. Like once he became Wolverine and he blew up as that character and as an actor, that gave him the juice to go get other projects made. So I'm sure he's excited to return to the role as well. So yeah, man, I can't wait.
I in my pantheon of Marvel characters, would probably be Daredevil, Wolverine, Blade. Those are my top three. A large part of Wolverine being there, it's twofold. It's the X-Men 97 or 94, however you want to phrase it, series, right? The cartoon. And then Hugh Jackman through the films. Like that's where my fandom started and has grown and all that jazz. Much like, Michael Keaton as Batman.
Sure.
Who is also coming back because everything that you thought was never going to happen is now happening. So, great. Maybe there's a chance that the Leafs actually win the Cup this year. Probably not, but I can hope. Anyway, I digress. So that's where my Wolverine fan is. And I've always said, and I think I've said it with you on the podcast, I've said it with Donnie, I feel, and no offense to the future actor that eventually plays Wolverine in the MCU, because I don't think Hugh Jackman is going to play Wolverine for the next 15 years again. Like that's not what I think we're doing here. So no offense to the future Wolverine, but I've always said I feel sorry for the poor sucker who next has to play Wolverine. Well, here's the stopgap. We don't have to worry about that guy because Hugh Jackman's back, and so
he is as synonymous with the character as like Christopher Reeve is with Superman.
100%. I even tweeted that, and I throw in Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, and so he's up there in that echelon. So you're telling me that I get to see more of him? Of course I'm going to be happy about that. Of course I'm not going to complain about that. And I see a lot of people say, well, not a lot, but it's, the Twitter bubble. It is what it is. But, you see them, this is going to devalue and tarnish my view of Logan because it ended so perfectly. Yeah, okay, and the beautiful thing about Logan is I can view it as its own movie, as a singular story. And hey, that story still works and it's still great. And also, for the people saying that, did you not see Far From Home? Did you not see the title card of the phase that we're in the MCU, the Multiverse Saga? So maybe this isn't that version of Wolverine.
Well, even we got the video that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman put out the following day to sort of quote explain what was going on, which really was
oh god,
it was a Wham song over them acting out a bunch of different things. But Ryan Reynolds made a good point. Logan takes place in 2029, so even if this is the same character, this movie comes out in 2024. So whatever this Wolverine, this Logan is going through right now, it could still be the same version. It's just 5 years before Logan takes place.
Yeah, and also remember too, it's the X-Men movie continuity. None of it makes sense. Who cares?
Yeah. True.
There's a GIF on the internet or a video of that sports commentator. I think he's a basketball guy. What is it, Stephen A. Smith?
Yeah.
There's one that's like, I'm here to tell you we don't care. Well, that's what I'm here to tell people that say, well, how does this make sense? We don't care. We just don't care. Hugh Jackman is back. Enjoy the ride.
It's going to be awesome.
And I mean, look at the marketing already for this movie. And imagine the actual movie with them in character. And then the press tour in the promotion for the movie, it's going to be a ball. It's going to be hilarious. How can anybody not be hyped for this? I don't understand. I don't understand it, Chris. I really don't.
Well, at the end of the Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman video, they said, "Thank you, Kevin Feige. Love you, Kevin Feige." And that's how I feel too. Like, I'm not worried about the particulars and the details and all that stuff. Hey, thank you. This is going to be sweet. This is going to be awesome, and I'm going to really enjoy it, I'm sure.
Now, I know in the video he said, want to play Wolverine one more time. Just a hunch on my part. I think it's actually going to be 2 more times. I think he shows up in this, and then again in Avengers Secret Wars.
Oh, okay.
Because that closes out the multiverse saga. So I think we're probably going to see Toby again. And I think we're probably going to see Andrew again in Secret Wars. So, again, it's the multiverse saga. Just embrace it, because this is the only, in the MCU, this is probably the only chance we have where you can make it make sense in the story of why these people are back. So just enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean, if people think that they've seen some crazy stuff with Loki and No Way Home, I think with Ant-Man and the Wasp and with the Kang Dynasty and with Secret Wars, things are only going to get much crazier. So if this has turned you off in any way, like, prepare yourself, because things are about to get bananas.
If this has turned people off in some way, all I have to say is it sucks to be you. That's really that's what it comes down to. But okay, last question before we take a break and then move on to Daredevil. With this either being an earlier version of Wolverine in the timeline or a variant altogether, do you think we see him in the classic Wolverine costume finally?
Ooh. You mean helmet?
Yep.
Brown and yellow.
Yellow and brown, yellow and blue, whatever, whichever combination. Pick your poison.
I mean, I feel like if anybody could get him to do it, it's Ryan Reynolds. And
they got to give it to us once, right?
the Deadpool movies they've really leaned into the whole costume thing.
Yeah.
You know, they've gone all out to kind of be sort of comic accurate, I think. So even if it's done for a joke, if it's thrown in there somehow, I feel like we got to get it.
All right. Yeah, I'm with you too. I think I just think they teased it in the Wolverine. You know, that was the scene was cut, but it's on the Blu-ray, and it looked pretty good. So I'm like, yeah, just put him in that. Put him in that, and you're gonna make a lot of people happy. And I think that's partly why Hugh Jackman is doing this. Look, I'm not gonna say, well, he doesn't care about the money. Nobody takes a job and says, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna come and work on a whole movie for free." Right? Like, you know, of course, money is involved, right? Unless you're nobody in the acting world like me, and they say, "Hey, want to come on set for a Batman movie?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and they'll be like, "But you're not getting paid. I don't care." You know, like, we're not talking about me. We're talking about, you know, a guy that is a big name in Hollywood. Of course, he's going to get paid, and I'm sure that's a fact. The guy's going to make a living. The guy's going to support a family, the whole 9 yards. I'm sure he's not struggling, but the guy is going to get paid, and that's probably factors in the decision.
Well, nobody goes to work for 3 to 6 months on a project without thinking about what the return is going to be on it. Like, right. It involves a big part of your life when you're filming a movie like this. You're away from your family. You're away from other social commitments you want to be involved in. So
yeah. So I mean, money is a factor, but I gotta believe that in the way that Hugh Jackman cares about this character, and we know that he's, you know, how closely he holds it, given that that was his really first breakout role. Part of him is doing this for the fans, I believe. And again, they've given him that assurance that we're not going to muck up the ending of Logan. And so those are the reasons why I think he's doing it. And I'm happy it is. I'm happy he is, because that was a welcome bit of news when I saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So speaking of seeing the news, I don't think I told you this, but you broke the news to me in your Facebook post. I was just scrolling through Facebook and I saw your post about it, and I was like, what's this now? And then I went.
You thought I was drunk, didn't you?
I was like, what is he talking about now? So I pulled up the old Google machine there, and I was like, oh, wow, this is a thing. Yeah, so Yeah, man. Thanks for breaking the news. It was awesome.
Yeah, I couldn't call exclusive on it, but I broke it to somebody, so that's good. But yeah, so there it is. We're excited for it, and now the long wait for Deadpool 3 began. And I love the both Deadpool movies. I think they're great.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like I wasn't excited for Deadpool 3 regardless, but this just takes it up to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I hope they find a way to bring Zazie Beetz back. I really enjoyed her a lot in Deadpool 2. Of course, Blind Al's got to be back. You can't have a movie without her. T.J. Miller. Yeah. Bring the crew that survived at least. Bring them back.
Or as many non-problematic actors that you have. Let's say, because nowadays it seems like every production has one. But bring as many as you can. But I will say, just to cap this off, if I was to rank the list of my excitement for returning actors to superhero roles that they had and then were either let go from or left behind, I'm going to say top 3 are Michael Keaton as Batman #1, has to be. Brandon Routh as Superman, because I never thought I'd see that again. That's number 2. And he was the first Superman I saw on the big screen. So whether people like it or don't like it, too bad. It's my list. I'll do what I want. And third is Wolverine, or Hugh Jackman. I almost said Wolverine is Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is number 3. 4 would be Charlie Cox as Daredevil. 5 is Ben Affleck as Batman. I actually like him as Batman, folks, despite what some people think out there. And 6, because until I see it, I won't believe it, even though it's getting more solidified, Cavill as Superman. That's my top 6. But the Cavill one still has an asterisk, because, again, I need to see him physically on screen, head and all, in the costume before I believe it. Like, you can show me pictures, because they're online now, pictures of him in LA, and his hair is dyed black, and you could tell me that he's doing reshoots for The Flash. That's great. That's fantastic. I don't care whether you're a 20-year veteran of Scooper or you scoop ice cream at Baskin Robbins, whatever it's called. I don't care. Until I see that, that's when I'll believe it. Call me Doubting Thomas, call me whatever you want. That's what it is. But it's up there. If he's back, it's up there. So that's my list. There it is. But again, excitement. There's a lot of people returning. Bring on all these movies, and we'll have more details as they're given to us. We will pass our thoughts about them on to you. But that's pretty much the news portion of the show. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to talk the Netflix / now Disney Plus Daredevil series, season 1, episode 2. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What's up, everyone? It's the Emerald Enthusiast. For all of your multiverse viewing and listening needs, check out our shows, which include Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, Power Rangers, the Marvel Universe, and the DC Universe, including the Emerald Echo podcast. You can check us out on Podbean, and remember to subscribe right here on YouTube. That's the Multiverse Musings Podcast Network. From the first podcast to the last.
And we're back. And as promised, it's time to talk Daredevil, Chris. So we are on season 1, episode 2. Give us a brief synopsis of what's going on in this particular episode.
Okay, so, let me go over the creative team first, because I actually paid attention this time.
Indeed, yeah.
This episode is called Cut Man. It's written by show creator Drew Goddard, who wrote 2 episodes of this show, 9 episodes of Lost. He was a staff writer on Buffy, and he wrote the screenplay for The Martian, and this is where I remember his name from. He wrote the screenplay for that Sinister Six movie that got scrapped over at Sony that they never ended up making.
Hashtag make the Sinister Six more. No, I'm kidding. I mean,
bring them back.
Yeah.
And it was directed by Phil Abraham, who did 5 episodes of this show, 3 episodes of a show that I really like, Glow, and The Walking Dead, a show that I worked on, and even 2 episodes of Luke Cage and the Defenders. So later on in this universe.
Yeah.
Yep. So basically, this show is telling us 3, different stories throughout the episode in both present day and in flashback. We have the main story, which is Matt being rescued by Claire, who is performing the role of the night nurse from the comics, and their relationship, them beginning to know each other and beginning to trust each other. So that's kind of like plot A in this episode. I'd say plot B is young Matt. We see through flashbacks him right after his accident and coming to experience his powers, I won't say powers, but his enhanced abilities for the first time, and learning how to cope with being blind, such as learning how to read Braille. And his father jokes that he's probably going to be able to read Braille better than his dad can read regular written words. Yeah. And then the third plot revolves around Matt's dad battling Jack Murdoch, who is supposed to take a dive in a boxing match, but decides that he wants his son to hear the crowd cheer his name just once. So instead, he puts all his money on himself to win the fight by knockout, and he wins the fight. And for his troubles, he is killed later that night, and young Matt hears the gunshot and discovers his father's body in the alley behind their apartment.
Well put. So I really like how we started with Daredevil in a post fight or altercation scenario, because to me it kind of gave that illusion that, you know, once the first episode ended, like, things still happen. We may not see everything, like in a comic book sometimes, right? Like, adventures still go on when you close the page, and I mean, sometimes it's linear, right? But sometimes there's allusion to other stories, even though if we don't see them, there's reference of some kind. So I like that. It makes the world more expansive, it feel more lived in. So I dig that. And I like that we got a Daredevil that, you know, we saw him in a bad way. Like, he was pretty battered, beaten, and bruised. Now, I think that is I think important for the character, because yes, he has those heightened senses, right? But if you were to make him win every single fight with ease and just, you know, save the day immediately, not only would it be a very boring show, but the allure of Daredevil is this is a guy that overcomes his disability, right? Who is able to not work in the framework of his disability and rise above, right? So you need to show him struggling, failing, or otherwise there is no rising above your circumstance. If he's already perfect and can fight with ease, and hey, you know, nobody can touch him, nobody can beat him. So I like this kind of the fact that we see him in a precarious situation. What do you take on it? What's your take on how it started and that scenario?
Well, yeah, I agree that it's important for this character, not only for the character, but for the show. You got to remember, when this show premiered, we're coming from the world of the theater and Avengers on the huge big screen, and alien invasions and super-powered beings who populate this universe that we live in. This guy is not that. He has abilities, but he's not super powered. Claire Temple says when she's patching him up, she tells him that he's got a puncture wound that looks like it was from a knife and he's lost a lot of blood. and he's got at least 2 or 3 broken ribs. So this guy has taken a serious beating, but through the course of the episode, we see that his mission, and in this episode, that mission is finding the missing young boy who is being trafficked, or who has been kidnapped in order to draw him out, really. That mission is more important to him than his personal well-being. He's willing to put himself through this pain and through the torment and the beatings because he needs to save this kid.
Right. I agreed. And then I love the whole banter and interplay with Claire Temple, because her, she says, there's a moment where he talks about, why did you save me? And she says, being a nurse, I've heard about your exploits. The guys you took out that were doing that the human trafficking in the first episode came into the hospital, and they were pretty battered and whatever. And then when he saved the girl in that same episode, you get that, she was there when she came in. So word is getting around of this masked vigilante, and you could see in just from the early outset that he is making a difference. So that was an important revelation from her. The other thing I liked with her story, and I really like Rosario Dawson as an actress, by the way. I think she's
great.
She's great. But when she realized that he was blind, but yet could smell the cologne of the people that came to attack them, she's like, wait a minute, like, how the hell do you do that? So there was the emotion and the expression of confusion, shock as to like, okay, but he's blind. How is he able to do all this, right? And I much prefer that because it's a very naturalistic, real reaction, as opposed to, oh yeah, you can just I'm just gonna go with it that you can hear or you can see or smell, alcohol from a guy drenched in cologne or alcohol or what have you, 4 flights of stairs down. You know what I mean? So I like that there was some questioning there. And I also like that
she even does it later in the episode when he has the detective strung up on the roof, and he says that the guy's passed out, and she says he could be faking, and Matt just stands there for a second and says he's not faking, and she's like, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's weird.
But I also like that they showed him doing that pause, because you see his enhanced hearing at play there. I mean, there's no fancy effect of, okay, now let's zoom in on a CGI version of his earlobe and show the drum, but just like the head motion, the facial pausing, Charlie Cox is able to express that he's using those abilities. And I like those little touches really, really give the episode the extra oomph already. Not that I needed it, but that extra, little punch that I like. Also, at first she's like, why do we have to do this? I'm not comfortable with this. But then once the guy starts coming to, she's got a hood and a ski mask on, and she's telling him like the pressure point to use to like scare the crap out of him to make him talk.
She tells him She tells him to sever his trigeminal nerve.
Yeah.
And that's like a big deal. So if anybody's not familiar with that, I had a problem with my trigeminal nerve that I had to see a neurologist for, and it wasn't like pretty. But let me just say that it can cause a whole lot of pain. So when I saw him going at that guy and digging into the side of his skull, I really felt for that dude.
Yeah. But I like the fact that, by the third act of the episode, she's kind of warming up to she's like, I'm still not wholly comfortable with it, but if you're going to do it, let me at least it's almost like she's like, okay, he's gonna hurt this guy anyway. Let me just make sure he doesn't kill him. And so she's kind of like participating to see that the least grave outcome is achieved. So
well, yeah, she's telling him how he can cause great pain without like killing the guy.
Yeah.
Or permanently maiming him.
She's still sort of like that nurse aspect of her is still kind of there. Like she hasn't dropped it, which is good. I like that. And then at the end when he lets him fall, when he throws him onto the, and he's like, oh, there's a trash, what does he say? There's a trash bin there, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I like the intimidation aspect that Daredevil uses, and so far what we saw in the first episode, you know, I never doubted that he, if he had to, would go the full distance, right? Like, it's not like, and again, everybody knows I love Batman, but it's not like Batman where he may dangle you off the side of a building, but everybody and their mother knows that he's not going to let you fall. With Daredevil, at least at this point, nobody can be assured of that.
At this point in the series, you're right. Especially when you see him dump that guy right off the edge of the building, you're like, holy crap, did he just do that? But then it shows that he dumped him into the same dumpster that Claire found him in the beginning of the episode.
Now, he does find that kid, and we're going to talk about that in a bit, because there's a pivotal scene that takes place. But before we talk about that scene, let's talk about the other portion of the episode, the flashbacks with battling Jack Murdock, the fixing of the fight, or the supposed fixing of the fight, and then the switch up by him, and also his interaction with young Matt. I loved all this. Like, I love seeing young Matt with his father, because it echoes, or it gives you a sense of why Matt is doing what he does, especially in this episode where he's trying to reunite a child with his father, or his parent in this case. So, I mean, that is hit home with these flashbacks, why he's doing this. But also, when you watch Battling Jack, right, as a boxer, and then you see Charlie Cox's fighting style, you see the elements of his father's boxing at play in his fighting, which I really enjoy seeing. So he's taking that part of his father with him into his alter ego, which is cool. But
well, yeah, his dad wouldn't stay down, and you get the feeling that Daredevil, as long as he can get up, he's going to.
Now, question I have for you: there's a part where Jack has a fight and he loses, or he takes a dive in the first fight that he has, and he comes home and Matt has to stitch him up. Now, my question here is Matt blind already at this point, or that was a pre-blindness? Because
I think this is pre-accident, because when I saw young Matt at the table, because before that they show Matt watching the fight on TV. He's watching his dad's fight, and he's actually sitting there watching it, and he can stitch up his dad when he comes home. So yeah, that is pre-accident.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because otherwise, like, I don't care what extrasensory stuff you got going on.
You're not sewing me up.
I ain't letting you stitch my face. I don't care if we're related or not. You take me to the hospital, and the hospital will do the goddamn job. So yeah, it's good to know that. And it's like, I like when he gets the scotch and he's like, "Oh, is that for you?" He's like, "No, it's for you. I don't want your hands shaking like they were last time." That was kind of funny. But again, within that, like, you see the maturity and the growing up that Matt has to do.
Sure.
At such a young age, because of the situation he and his father are in, right? And so, but
and
even though
you know that they're not in the best financial situation because Matt asks him if they're going to have money for rent this month.
Yeah, but not only that, you see the importance, like, in the midst of Matt doing this important stitch up for his father's talking to him about, did you do your homework? And he's like, I still have something to finish it before you go to sleep. And he's like, no, tomorrow. No, before you go. So you already get that instinctive sense of, I want you to do good in school because I don't want you to end up like me. Right? And that is a trait that you will see in a lot of parents. Not necessarily that they're down on themselves, but even though I'm not a parent, I would assume that any well-meaning parent or a good parent would want better for their child than what they had, regardless of what that was.
Of course. Yeah, that's just I think that's just common
sense.
Yeah, that's just human nature.
Right. So, and again, I thought that was very tangible, very relatable. Whether you put yourself, whether you're a father watching it like you, or a son of somebody watching it, and you're in Matt's position, like sort of I am.
And as a father watching it, I also see the dichotomy in it, because in one respect, he did do the things that his dad wanted him to do. He went to school, he graduated, pretty high in his class. He became an attorney. He has a nice professional job. So he has progressed out of that state that he was in, that he and his father were in when he was younger. But, his dad didn't want him to have to fight for a living, and here he is taking a beating and brawling in the alleyways of Hell's Kitchen. Now, his dad did it for money. He's doing it to help people. But I almost feel sad for him in that way, because I feel like he hasn't escaped what his father wanted him to get out of.
Right. Yeah, it's true. That's a very good point. And again, I like the fact that they showed Jack making the switch. He's like, you know what? I'm going to win this because I want Matt to see that if you get knocked, no matter if you get knocked down, you always get back up. So if you're going to preach that lesson, what are you doing taking dive? I mean, look, the money was probably good. Probably would have served Matt well, but Jack felt that he couldn't be a father that was true to his word if he had gone through with the dive. Right? Sure, he wanted his son to hear him, he'd get the chant, but I think it goes beyond that.
Well, he also knew what was going to happen to him if he did this, because the bet that he placed, he had the money going to an account in Matt's name, not for his own name, and he made a phone call, and you heard a woman's voice on the other end of the phone, a message tone, and he leaves a message saying, "Hey, I need you to watch after Matt. He's a good kid. Just take care of him for me." So he knew he was setting himself up to possibly not come back from this decision.
Yeah, and I like how you see it. Matt hears the gunshot and he runs to the alleyway and he cradles in front of his father. All that set up the whole twist of the fight. That was all taken right out of the comics, almost verbatim. Really well done. I don't know if it was just me and my head kind of playing tricks on me. But did Battling Jack remind you of Ben Affleck a little bit?
I don't think that crossed my mind while watching it. No, but I can kind of see it.
Because it did tell, I'm like, damn it, I know it's not Ben Affleck, but it's I'm just getting those vibes. Now, wouldn't it be funny, just spitballing here, going back to our conversation before. Imagine for Secret Wars, Ben Affleck makes a cameo as Daredevil.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's one I hadn't considered. Talking about Daredevil coming back into the MCU, that could throw some people for a loop.
This guy's playing Batman and Daredevil simultaneously. That would be something, all right. but that's neither here nor there. We'll see. Who knows? With Kevin Feige, I'm not going to say no because
don't count him out.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, all the stuff with Matt and his father, and the stuff with the death scene, it wasn't as visceral as the Daredevil movie, where you're seeing it in shadow, you're seeing him get beat to a pulp, right? But you're seeing the shadow of it. So it wasn't as, quote unquote, violent visually, but I think it had just as much, if not more, of an impact because of all the build-up work we did with father and son there, which was great. There's a little side story with Foggy and Karen, just getting to know each other better and
right.
more acquainted. It's not really, groundbreaking to this episode, other than to say Karen is still suffering the effects of the trauma that she went through in the first episode, which is important. Again, I like the fact that it's lingering and it's not, hey, we solved that problem in the first episode, let's move on.
No, we see that she's probably got like a little bit of PTSD from it. The way that she describes the encounter when they are at the bar, she says that she doesn't see the city anymore. She only sees its dark corners. And that's pretty telling. You get the impression that she was probably a pretty happy, positive, upbeat, happy-go-lucky type of person before this happened to her. And now she is anything but that. She sees the danger in the city. But yeah, we do see that she has some lingering issues that are unresolved from that encounter in the last episode. We also see that she most definitely does not consider this to be a date with Foggy. As he says when they're at the bar, he says, "Oh no, she's an employee. This isn't a date." He's like, "Is it?" And she says, "No." So we know exactly where she stands on their relationship. They are co-workers and friends.
He got friend zoned pretty quickly.
Yep.
Sucks to be him, but hey, at the end of the day, he's a mighty duck, so things can't all be that bad.
You always got that to fall back on.
Exactly, and he has in the series, also on Disney Plus. So he's got it in with the powers that be at Disney Plus there. So he may yet return in Daredevil Born Again.
Sure hope so.
Now we got to talk about the final fight where Daredevil does rescue the kid.
Sure, the hallway scene.
The hallway scene, the much talked about back in the day hallway scene, and man, was it great! That continuous shot, seemingly no cuts. And it's Daredevil kicking their ass from room to room to room. And it's glorious. And that's the part where you see he's doing the boxing type of technique with that one guy in the hallway. And again, this wasn't fancy wires. It wasn't, stunt work galore. It wasn't the Matrix type of fight scene. This was brutal, brass tacks, ground level stuff. And I don't know about you, but given that he's dealing with guys that have kidnapped the child, it felt extra good watching those guys get the crap beaten out of them as an audience member.
Oh yeah, these are despicable human beings. They are engaging in human trafficking of children for money. And that's about as low as you can go, I think. You're right. It is, you do get, it's very visceral. You get the sense of the stakes that are involved, that if Matt doesn't save this little boy, he's going to be sold off to the highest bidder, and who knows what happens to him then. But Matt takes out all the guys, and it's not with ease either. Matt gets he takes some punishment during the fight.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not like he comes out unscathed. And from my recollection of the series overall, I don't think that's ever the case where it's Matt just comes in and cleans house with no personal repercussion. So
no, you're right. It's kind of a hallmark of the series, and you're right. The way this is filmed, it's filmed to look like a oneer, just a single continuous shot. Which, when researching the episode, I found out that was not the case. They did do different takes with both Charlie and with his stunt double, but it's filmed together. It's stitched together seamlessly to look like it's all taking place in real time inside one camera lens.
So kudos specifically to the editors.
Oh yeah, and the choreographers
and the performers, of course. Yeah, everybody that put that fight together. But the editors, to make it look like that one continuous, that's on the editors. More so because they got to do the work. But kudos again to all the fight coordinators, Charlie, his stunt double, everybody involved. Fantastic stuff, and it's one of the best hand-to-hand fights. Yeah.
Yep. Out of all three seasons of this series, that is one of my favorite clips of 5 minutes out of the whole thing.
Yeah. And then, so he rescues the kid, and before you even see him walking out with the kid, which is very heroic, like he looks very heroic, even though he looks like crap because he just got the crap beat out of him. Before you see him walking out with the kid, you hear him say, "Don't be afraid. I'm here to help. Let's take you back to your father." That's very important because that's something Matt never got. Like, he never got to be with his father again. So for him to be able to reunite a young child with his father has to be a validation of, I am doing the right thing here. And kind of like a full circle moment, even though it's not him and his father.
Sure.
So I really like that sort of, like, they made sure you could hear that line, even though you didn't see anybody on screen. And I thought that was very well done and very well put together. I really enjoyed that. And I thought it ended the episode with a real emotional punch that was important. But anything else that you want to talk about that we haven't covered, or?
No, except that my favorite thing in the scene is when the Russian fake detective guy is running away down the stairs, and Matt leans over and drops the fire extinguisher on him and clocks him. So that was my favorite thing out of this episode, I think.
It's hilarious because he's just waiting, and he's like waiting for the right moment. It's like, what are you doing? And so it was cool. Yeah,
it's like the scene in Dark Knight when Batman jumps and lands on the van, but it's funnier because it's a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, it's funnier, and it reminds me of, like, that's something that the Coyote would try with the Roadrunner, but fail. Like, it would somehow backfire on him and end up hitting him in the head, right? So I kind of got those kind of vibes too in the midst of a serious show. But yeah, that was a cool moment. So I guess if we've covered mostly everything, we can go ahead and rate this. So give it a letter grade.
Ooh, letter grade, man. Yeah, this is a solid A for me, man. We get a lot of young Matt backstory, which I'm a big fan of. We see a lot of his dad, which I really like everything we've gotten with his dad pretty much in this series. I like the actor portraying Battling Jack. He does a really good job. I like the subplot or the plot with the young boy. I like they did a good job drawing that or stringing that throughout the episode. The Foggy and Karen stuff was fun, but like harmless. It didn't really do much, but it was it was there. But overall, solid episode, well executed, and what a way to end it with that hallway scene in the rescue.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. It's a solid A. Love the present day story with the banter between Night Nurse and Daredevil, and their apprehensive team up. The flashbacks were with Battling Jack and Young Matt were both heartwarming and heart-wrenching at the same time. And that fight in the hallway has got to be one of the best fights on a TV show I've ever seen. So, all that put together, it's a solid A for me. And of course, we will be back with our next episode, reviewing episode 3 of season 1 and discussing whatever news may drop between now and then. But until next time, if you want to talk some Daredevil or Marvel Comics or Marvel Cinematic Universe with either of us on social media, you can. So, Chris, where do they find you?
On Twitter, my handle is at Chris N. Harrelson, or you can search for Commodore Schmid Lab and I'll pop up. Adam will post about this in the Facebook group, so if you drop any comments there, I will set my notifications to see those too.
Awesome. If you want to chat with me, it's at Adam_LeafsFan on Twitter. The podcast network has its own page, which is at MMNPDC. As Chris mentioned, there is a Facebook group. It's listed in the links below. Click that. I will add you. And we can continue the conversation there. But until next time, Daredevil is forever. From the first Russian that gets his ass kicked in the hallway scene to the last. So long, everybody.
Bye.